And what my grandmother and the others wanted, they wanted us young ones to know what they're supposed to sound like. And I was hoping Kelly would be here tonight, but he isn't. So we'll have to go without Kelly Spence.
Oh, yeah.
See, we have an eagle with two heads, like the Russian eagle, but ours is actually two eagles sitting on a branch facing opposite directions, making one eagle look like it's got two heads. But, see, all of our press, this word right here, touch squeak, all of you come on in, come in, touch squeak. Some people say it means welcome, but I don't know what welcome means. Touch squeak. And what I've written over the top is a phrase, eat hardest who's long. Eat hardest is literally all of us humans, or all of us Haidas, again are coming alive. It's like we've been frozen. We've come through a long winter, we're moving slowly, but gradually, as the light strengthens, that means we're getting our language back, we're getting our ceremonies, we're getting our names, our identities. We're all getting that back. So there's a quickening. Not only of us, but others are doing the same thing. So eat hardest in Angslam. It's really easy, you just gotta cough it up, you chew on a little bit, and then spit it out. And then this is how you identify yourself. You say your name, Hinu Di Kya'an. Kawan Sanga, Hinu Di Kya'an. And so,
Hinu Di.
What's your name?
Vanessa. Hinu Di.
Don't put a question mark after your name. Vanessa? Vanessa Hinu Di Kya'an.
Vanessa Hinu Di Kya'an.
Kya'an. See, that's why that little mark is supposed to be there. What I do with that? Oh. I thought I had it right next to my heart. See, I think this is called a glottal stop, but it's a possessive apostrophe. So, kya'an, kya, and if, see this alphabet, I was going to hang it up here, but when you have a single A like this, the A is pronounced like U in the word sun. So that's kya, kya, and the double A is pronounced like the A in father, so that's kya, and then the NG sound is made in your sinuses. If you can say this one you use an N. Kya, kya,
Like French?
If your nose is stopped up, you can't talk either. And with our language, it said you can tell somebody's lying when their lips are moving. With our language, you can speak it really without moving your lips. So it's hard to lie. I was in a sociology class in 1970, I think it was. And we had a district attorney come in and talk to our class about Native people in court. And he said in many ways, Haidas were the worst witnesses, but yet the best. He said, they're very easy to catch it lying. They couldn't lie. But If they decide they've set enough, if the witness just suddenly put the head down like this, not going to say another word. No matter what you do or say, just not going to say another word. And this district attorney said he used to watch his Haida witnesses very carefully. As soon as the head started going, Your Honor, recess, and then take them out and get coffee. And when I was in grade school, I guess I was probably about 4 or 5. We had a teacher that was prone to hitting us. It wasn't, there was no big strap, that sort of thing. He had only one arm. He'd lost his arm as a kid. He got hit by a train or something. So he always had his sleeve of his coat tucked in his pocket, and he did everything with his left hand. Man, that guy had fast. He would tuck a ruler right in here, and he'd come around behind us checking to see what we're doing. If we did something wrong, he'd pull that chair back like this and grab that ruler and swing down for your inner thigh. Jesus, that would hurt. But we were quicker than he was. Get our hands out and hit us on the hand. And one day, I decided I had enough. I'm not going to talk to him. He was yelling at me. He yanked me out of my chair. He whacked me with a yardstick. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't make a sound. And he started saying some of the other kids, they did the same thing. Nobody would talk to him. He begged us. He pleaded with us. He went out to the principal. He came in there. The next day, we wouldn't talk to him, so they had to go get our parents. Just decided not to talk to him anymore. And then when that district attorney told that story about Haida's in court, when I decided I've said enough, I ain't going to say anymore. So it must be some sort of a cultural genetic memory, I don't know.
So the right to remain silent was made after us? Then.
Yeah, and that's absolute. Because they couldn't even get us to cry. I mean, there'd be tears, but no sound. Kind of stubborn, I guess. I come by mine honestly. My dad's grandfather was a Scotsman. My mother's grandfather was a Scotsman, so I'm double stubborn. Because the only one that would cooperate is the Haida side. So anyway, Hinu di Ka'an. So this glottal stop, this separates Ka'an. Sinudam Ka'an.
Uktagrias, Hinu di Ka'an.
Take your time with it, because see, with English, you're so used to it, you can hear all the sounds. But with this one here, some of them are very subtle. It's like, we'll be talking about this word here. These are not the same word. Sin and sin. Sin, you're asking a question. Sinudam Ka'an. How are you called? Kim Sun is now saying you also. Sun is you also. Up here is Sinu. You're asking a question. So you have to be able to hear those different sounds so that you don't say the wrong thing.
So it's sin, not son.
No,
because I've heard D-son, D-sin.
Sun, not sin, sin. Sinu, sinu, sin, with the accent mark, sin without it. And also, Hinu, di Ka'an. So the language goes Hinu, di Ka'an. Ka'an sana, Hinu di Ka'an. See, once you learn the rhythm in German, I had a heck of a time with a certain word means to go straight ahead. Geradeaus. And so with this, the name for this hat, I had the same problem with the rhythm. Hat is just the jum. But when you make it a specific one, the hat, dijanai. So it's the jum is hat, dijanai is a specific one. So that AAY at the end makes it a specific object. So it's very important to learn the song of the language. So, Sinodam Kya'an. What's your name? What's his name?
Levi. Levi.
Levi?
Levi.
Levi.
Like the jeans.
Levi Hinu Di Kya'an. Levi was the last name of my great-grandfather. So, with that name, I can sit in the front row in a synagogue. So, Levi and Nathan?
Yeah.
Nathan. There's a name in Haida, it's called Natlan. Natlan is the traveler. Today, the English name, though, they use is Natcom. But Natlan was also can be with Nathan.
His Haida name is a storyteller. Or I'm not too sure how to say it.
See, they didn't give me a fancy name for a storyteller, they just called me a BSer. So, Sinodam Kya'an.
Roger Henu Di Kian.
Kya'an.
Kian.
Kya'an. Hinu Di Kya'an.
Henu Di Kian.
Kya'an, yeah.
Wiki Ao Henu Di Kian.
There you go.
World. Hinu.
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 Hinu Di
Di
Kya'an.
Kya'an.
Hinu Di Kya'an.
Isiga, Hinu Di Kya'an.
Svetlana. Hinu Di Kya'an.
Kya'an. There you go. See, Kya'an. Yeah, just, you have to exaggerate it a little bit. Even when you say yes, sometimes people will just say instead of but that NG sound is very prominent with Haida language, but you don't find it with the coastal languages here. They leave the G off of their words. Like, I might refer to the boys or girls younger than me as Dagwang. Dagwang is a dear one, but the ones who speak a Dene language will say Dagwang. So the G isn't on there because I guess they can't hear it. But with the boys, we would call them Kuna, dear boy. Kuna. Anybody younger than me, any males younger than me, by, we'll say a generation, I would call Kuna.
How do you spell it? Could you spell it?
G-U.
Lisa, thank you.
Kuna. Sometimes it sounds like Guna.
And that's somebody who's way younger than you?
Yeah, that's a male.
A male.
Yeah. And I love to put the W on at the end of this song too, because we don't pronounce it though. It's silent. Quick. See, we mouth it, but we don't say the letter.
It's like how or something.
I've heard of Denalang.
There's the Guan, and then there's Deena. Deena is a lot of times is a pet word using for a girl, but it really is a boy or a girl. And what that really means is somebody that's so precious that it's like our blood veins are connected. So any discomfort that child feels, I'm going to feel it too. So I go to great lengths to avoid causing those children to feel any discomfort. Because that's the way we teach them, is by being kind and gentle to them rather than by hitting them and yelling at them. So Deena, Skujus, that's a precious one. So we have quite a number of those kinds of terms in our language about endearment. One that it took me a few years to figure out, and 2 divorces.
That's extreme. So do I.
Kurangai sometimes is said that's your mind, but that's your total being. See, I am my mind, I'm not my body. We don't pay any attention to the heart, about separating heart, mind, and spirit. It's all contained in this word here, Kurangai. He Kurangai. Kurangai Tana. This means soft, having a soft mind. Not a soft head, soft mind. And my first marriage lasted 14 years, and I didn't even know I was messed up. I didn't know I was violent. I didn't know people were scared. Even in law school, I was told everybody was afraid to argue with me because they're afraid I might attack them. And I told this one boy, I said, hey, they're bigger than me. He said, yeah, man, but you got snakes in your eyes. Because I used to feel it when I'd start getting, it was just like everything would come into sharp focus. And so my wife, and rightfully so, divorced me. And then another woman fell in love with me and married me. And it was about 2 weeks before she filed for divorce. I finally understood what this meant, because I realized when I was in law school in 1979 that I was going to kill somebody because I would have this temper where I wouldn't have any memory of it. Sober, I didn't have to be drinking. And I realized that I'm probably going to kill somebody. So how do I make this stop? I hadn't a clue. Those guys got me in a sweat lodge and I saw how crazy I'd become. And I said, let me out of here. I just forced my way out. A couple weeks later, they got me in there again. And I thought, I'm not going to run from this guy. I stayed there. By this time, I was 40. And that was the first time I'd really cried since I was 13 when they sent me away to school. And I thought my face was going to melt. Those tears were so hot, just like it was burning my face. And afterward, I walked out, and it was kind of a rainy day. And this Navajo guy, who later became the chief judge of the Navajo court system, Robert Yazzie, he walked up behind me and went like that onto my shoulder. He said, congratulations, Woody, now you're weak enough to be a man. And from that, I got a clue as to what it means, what this old man at home said. The highest compliment you can give any person is to say, that's a kind person. And this man, Sam Douglas, was talking about a nephew who drowned. And that's what he said, the highest compliment is say somebody's kind. He said, my nephew was like that. Just like his old man, he was a very kind person. And so when I remembered that, then I remembered this phrase, but I had no idea what it really meant. And then 2 weeks before my second wife divorced me, I came home. She was associate professor at Calgary University, and she was having a nap there on the sofa. When I walked in, I saw her laying there, and I thought to myself, how vulnerable she is. How easy it is for me to hurt her. Why do I want to hurt her? She wants to be happy. She has hopes and dreams. So why do I want to do that? And then I understood what that meant, of having a soft mind. That's where you care about what the other person feels. And you live your life paying attention to that. So, and then when we use, one of the guys from home was a highly decorated in the U.S. Marine Corps for stuff in Korea during the war. And he called me, this is a couple of years ago. He's in his mid-80s now. But he called, he asked, do you remember what they told us when they sent us off to war? I said, yeah, I remember. He said, what was it? I says, good night. Good night, Tatska. Good night, Tatska. That means keep your mind strong. Never let fear get in front of you. If it does, it'll overwhelm you. He packed a wounded buddy for 9 days. Wintertime, he said he wanted to give up and lay down, and he'd hear his grandfather saying, Good night, Klatska, Good night, Klatska. And then, the same thing. If one of you is having a very hard time, maybe there's been a death in your family, or you're really having a hard time, then I would add this. That means my mind is strong for you because you're standing in that place. Unconditional support. So, I've had people tell me that, and they mean it. When they use that phrase, but it's not something you just go and take advantage of. You just know, you can feel that you've got that support. So that the heart is a muscle. But right here is where your spirit place is, right here. That's where your life, your heart, is in here. And if it feels, like if you get down, and it feels empty and you're hurting, that means you gave up your power. So push those feelings out and take it back. And then the one you have to watch out for is this one here. Kadio's Kanwai. That's the medicine of confusion, drugs and alcohol. When this spirit gets in here, it pushes yours out. And it said, when a child is first born, its spirit is only very loosely attached and can leave at any time. When this one moves in and pushes your spirit out, it's only very loosely attached and can leave at any time. So with a child, a small child, a newborn child for at least a year or so should never be out of the sound of another heartbeat, another human heartbeat. Because if that heartbeat isn't there, that child spirit can leave. And I think that's what this sudden infant that syndrome is. People put a baby in a room, put a monitor, but the baby can't hear my heartbeat. So that's why the baby always has to be in the room with the parents. And today's social workers say that's wrong. You can't do that. You have to put them by themselves. And there's nothing worse you can do to a child than to isolate them. They'll do anything to get away from that. People say you gotta have some time out, you put them off to the side. That's a terrible thing to do. It's like when a person gets a life sentence in prison, that's a sentence of insanity because they're gonna be alone for 23 hours a day. And putting a person in there without that contact, the mind can't handle it. They do go crazy.
It breaks, hey, in isolation.
Huh?
It
Yeah,
breaks, your
isolation.
mind breaks.
Yeah, your mind breaks because it's trying to latch on to something. We're social beings. We need each other to survive. And what the European system did to us is they're into money and commerce. So prior to the money and the commerce, we might all be one family. We have one telephone and we have one television. But now that we've got commerce, I'm gonna have to sell every one of you a television. But to make it work, I have to convince you that you're an individual, you have personal rights, you have property rights. That's yours, that's yours, that's yours, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. And so then we become like a windshield on a car that's been shattered. All the pieces are there, but they're not together and you can't really see through it. So once we start getting our language back and we start going back to our values, we start helping each other again, we start trusting each other and sharing with each other and giving back. And somebody asked me about what were the primary values, and as far as I can tell, it's trust, see, when you come from a clan system, my clan members know they can trust me absolutely. And also that we have one common storehouse for our whole clan. And we only take what we need, but we all put something in there. And cooperation is where we help each other. Like, say you want to become the world's finest actor. You didn't go on yourself, you go by yourself. We're there with you all the way, so if you fall, we're going to catch you. And then giving back. It doesn't mean that, like if I take this box of chocolate and I give it back. No, what that means is say we're out there taking a look around, a deer, a moose, some game presents itself. I'm not going to take the first one, I'm going to give this one back. So if somebody comes along after me, there's going to be something for them. But residential school says, don't trust, they'll cheat you. Don't share, they'll end up with more than you. Don't help anybody because the only way to the top is look out for number one. And for goodness sake, don't give back because you can never have too much. All these billionaires, they couldn't spend that money in 100 lifetimes, but they still gotta have more. How much money is enough? So when we start getting back to trusting each other, sharing with each other, this is where we bring our gifts to the table. I don't come to get anything. I bring my gifts and I share them. We started this class, I don't know, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Went for 5 years. And we didn't have a grant for it. We got free space. And people were paying for the copying for us. And then Mass had sent us a little bit of help. Skilligut sent us some of their materials. And so we did that for 5 years. And then I had to go to work. So once we refer to this as drawing a straight line to the highest values of the community, that's where everybody knows the rules and everybody lives according to them. We don't have gender pronouns like he, she, her, or him. We have one term, ho. Ho means that person, that person, that person, that person with no gender. That person is a sister to this person. This person is an uncle to that person. So we look at humans as persons, not objects. And there's no possessiveness in it. She's my sister, she's my wife, he's my brother. This person is a brother to me. I'm a brother to that person. And also, so you don't have so you don't have this real strict delineation between roles. There were some that were primarily from custom as to how they evolved. There are some things that a female can't do that male can do, and there's some things male can do that female can't. You can't give birth to a child unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie. And a woman can't impregnate another person. So beyond that, it's not too many things either can't do. And traditionally too, the final decisions were left to women. Say I'm the house chief, and evening, those of the males, we would sit around a fire, and we're all the same clan, we're all eagles. All the women are ravens. All of our wives. See, if I'm the chief and I'm eagle, my wife is raven. We have a daughter, she's raven. So she's going to marry eagle. And it's matrilocal, so that husband moves into my house. So if I've got 5 or 6 daughters, I've got 5 or 6 son-in-laws that move into my house, and the fruits of their labor all accrue to my house. So the more daughters I got, the more wealth my house has. So anyway, the men would be sitting around, solving problems, making decisions. And if at any point got stuck, couldn't come to agreement about something, the chief, the uncle, would say, sisters, advise us. And whatever they said is the way it was. None of this, the spirit of the language or anything. No. They say what it's going to be. And if we come to some decision that the grandmothers don't like, gay. No. Then they tell the grandchildren, this is the way it's going to be. And the men all knew it, so there's no big deal. You don't always have to be right. And that was one of the major mistakes I made in my previous marriages. I always had to be right. And men are never wrong. We never get lost either.
So, they had Haidas had multiple wives too, right? Some of them had 1, 2, maybe 3. How did they manage that? How do you manage 3 Haida women?
Well, sometimes they just lied. But see, it worked the other way. That's not what was said. If I was married to 2 women, he would never say he has 2 wives. They'd say 2 wives share a husband. The ownership is on the other side.
Oh.
3 bosses, who wants one of those?
And here's the real trap. This is the one that could get you dead. If you abuse one or both your wives, growing up, my mother was one of a dozen women, maybe there was 11 or 12 of them, of the same generation of the same 2-headed eagle crest. So they're all sisters. That's all my mother's sisters. So in Haida, I would call all of them mother, even though some of them are not my biological mother's sister, but they're clan. So all the children of those 12 women are my brothers and sisters, or her brothers and sisters. And if I do something, she goes and tells her brothers. Maybe there's 20 of them. They would come and, as they said, would talk to me real hard. If I did it again, they'd injure me. If I did it again, they would stop short of crippling me. Because if I'm crippled, they got to take care of me. If I did it again, they go and talk to the clan chief and get permission to drown me. Because they don't want to pass those genes on of an abusive person. And even children, if they're too aggressive and too ambitious, they were taken aside and they start working with them to change their temperament. So, because when you live in, say all of us live in one room, you can't have somebody causing disruption. When I lived up in the Yukon with your sled dogs, if you had one dog in that dog team that would bark at night, the other ones couldn't get any rest. So they would use what's called a choke collar. There was a collar fit around the dog's neck, but it couldn't cinch down. It only tightened to a certain amount. And they'd put it over a tree limb and pull it up so the dog's toes are still on the ground. It's not gonna asphyxiate. It's just uncomfortable. And the dog, complaining, keeps barking until its throat is so raw it can't bark anymore. And so they leave it like that for a while, then they let it down and they give it water. If it starts barking again, they put it back up there. And now when you're out on the trail, that dog isn't going to bark unless there's a damn good reason. So that's the same with humans. They would teach us in a humane way about behavior. But if you abuse a child or a woman, especially a child, that's a death sentence. And incest was the same way. If a man was found to have committed incest, there was a ceremony in which the whole village gathered. And this man was stripped of all his clothing and his implements that attached to him were all put on a fire and burned. Then his name was taken. A hole was dug in the ground, and by ceremony they put it in the ground to putrefy, as it should. Then this person was taken to a remote island, and his arms were put around a big tree, and they tied his wrists and left him. And word went out that this person is invisible. If anybody sees them as this malevolent spirit walking, they have a responsibility to dispatch it. So even if you get loose, you couldn't go anywhere. So there were some things that were absolute because it was done for the, we'll say, the tribe to survive. The clan had to survive For the clan to survive, the crest or families had to survive. For the family to survive, the individual had to survive. And so it's all interwoven. It's the same way with wolves. When wolves are going through their country, the oldest are in the lead. Then the females, the young ones, and then they have the younger wolves and the leaders back here. So they run into, say, an ambush. The old ones are the first to go, and the others will close to protect the young and the women. And it wasn't all the old ones, but that's how the wolves will do it. And so to us, the wolves represent family and cooperation because they work together as a team. I worked on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline in northern Alaska, and one day we were sitting out there in a truck, wintertime, and saw a small herd, about 20 caribou, go running by. They were about from here to across the street, maybe a little farther, and there were some wolves chasing them. And they got a certain distance, these wolves stopped chasing and went trotting back. And there's some other wolves on the other end would rush out at them, not really trying to catch them, but would startle them and stampede them back the other way. And these would drive them this and back and forth until one would falter. And that's when they would take the one with the weak one. That's how they would cut it out. There were other strategies, but that's one we saw. And then watching ravens steal food from foxes. That was really, really quite interesting how they did it. They always worked as two of them. And say a fox is eating something over there, two ravens would land about this distance away. Stand here, and one would hop about half the distance. This one didn't move. And that fox would dart at this one, and it would jump, it would go over the wolf about to where you're sitting, and turn around. The wolf would whirl and come for this one, and this other raven would go get the food. We watched them do it so many times. Fox never caught on, but the ravens were always stealing their food like that.
So those ravens, they'd share after?
Oh yeah, yeah, they would share the food.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really something to watch how that works. And their legs they seem short because the feathers go all the way down to about what would be like the wrist or knuckle down here, ankle, because they're in the snow all the time. And they don't really have lungs. They have some kind of muscles rather than like lungs, because you never see vapor coming from their nostrils in the wintertime. It's something to do with controlling the temperature or whatever inside them. I don't know if birds really have lungs. They have some other kind of arrangement. So, and watching all these things, and one of the songs, I was hoping Kelly was going to be here. I was going to give you folks the words to a song called Sinyash Hidud. Yash, this raven, Sinyash Hidud. They're asking, why is this raven behaving in a strange manner? And it's some wolves are traveling through the forest, and one of them stops to watch and says, I'm going to watch until I understand why the raven's behaving in a strange manner. Now, you don't get that from just a direct translation of the words. But what it is Raven is singing, saying that I've been jilted. When she left, not only did she take my heart, but she took a piece of my soul. If I don't get a drink of water, I will certainly die. Klaas dan Flamaskingan Vaskananu dan Hakje Klaas Watch what we dunking on down. He's feeling sorry for himself. Come for me. But anyway, that song is on that. What I'd like to do is get somebody to burn a bunch of copies from that so you can all get some copies of these songs.
Can I have a copy of one of that?
Yeah.
Do you have more than one of these?
I was gonna ask them to make some copies. And the one song that we're gonna be using for, when we finish this whole course, on the keeper of a ceremony called All I Hit Yash. All I Hit Yash is dancing under the paddle. And it's a ceremony, I might say, is to rekindle the woman's magic of harmony. The way that thing works, it's like if the ceremony is going to happen in here, all the women would be out there on the other side of the door. And there'd be a man on this side with a paddle, and he's got to be dancing with that paddle. And I called out, Vanessa, Yastla, Vanessa, come out and dance. So she steps out, and the man with the paddle steps behind her. He's dancing with a paddle over her head. And one of the men in the row that's drumming and singing moves over alongside, so he's dancing beside her, sort of mirroring her movements. And so as they get so far into the room, I tell those two men, Huslawan, that's far enough. Hugwa, you keep dancing. And what that is there's 4 promises. I'll always protect you and provide for you. I'll always walk alongside you, and I'll never interfere in your search for your own special place. And those are the 4 promises that we men are supposed to grow up with. And so we want to do that ceremony when we finally get to do it. I've only done it once, and I was scared to do it. I asked some people if they wanted to be part of it. They didn't want anything to do with it. There's a strange thing that some men get quite upset when someone says, we're going to do a ceremony with some humans. See, our story too says that women were the first to be brought into light before men. And so that's why everything that we do is focused in that direction. Is that, wow, I thought you would pull your teeth out.
I saw that too.
Your tongue. Can you say that? Tongue. Tongue. That's tongue. Can you say that? Tongue. Tongue. That's your teeth. Tongue. That's also a beaver. You know what a beaver is? It's got big front teeth. It's called tongue because of its front teeth. Yeah, so anyway, maybe does anybody here not have this?
So this song, who like this song with your this one?
Yeah, there's 2 of them on there. One is this is happy song.
The happy song?
Yeah.
And who composed this song?
We have no idea. They're so old, really. Yeah. These are the old ones. Even this one here. The entrance for the song for this one, they say, Amia,
You want to try singing
Amia, Kasil, Kamilgam. Pay attention, something strange is happening. They go around calling that. And then when they start coming, so it goes like that. And each one of these songs, you always repeat it 3 times, so it's the same verse sung 4 times. I'm not very good at keeping rhythm with the drums. I get tangled up.
Roger's really good.
You know,
He's a
you
really
know
good
these
singer.
songs?
Yep.
Well, who knows, maybe we can get everybody to sing it tonight.
Yep.
Roger's really good. He leads our Haida dance
Oh,
group.
good.
Yeah. He's awesome.
In Haida, you call him Laja. Laja.
Oh,
There's no R. So it's Laja.
Gotta remember that.
With the Lakotas and the Dakotas, they're called Sioux. So the Lakotas use an L in their words, whereas Dakotas use a D sound. And they were talking about it, and this one guy from the Dakota side said they were gonna start using the L rather than the D. And so one of those throat cutters said, okay, we'll do it your way, Lick. His name was Dick. So anytime you wanna, we can turn it over to you. Yeah. I brought my special room.
We gotta sing.
Take a break
We're
first.
gonna let you do a solo.
Nana Bread and cherries.